A good evening to everybody once again. Thank you for joining us tonight for the first Meet PSP West webinar. Our session will be starting now, and your host for tonight will be Mr. Craig Teo.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Craig, and I'm going to be your host for this evening. We'd like to welcome all who are watching to us from Zoom and also on Facebook Live as well. And tonight is the first MPSP. The word M in front stands for Meet PSP. So we're going to bring on a lot more people. But all the panels they'll be appearing later on in the screen, and also. Of course, the founder of PSP himself, which is Dr. Tan Cheng Bok. Now, if you find me vaguely familiar, right? Well, I'm the guy who used to play uh, Professor Charles Cheng on MediaCorp Channel 5. And we are bringing on most of the other panelists in time to come. And right now, for those of you that have just joined us here on the Zoom chat and also on Facebook Live, we want to welcome you once again, and especially to the residents who are living in the western part of Singapore. We're going to have a fun time tonight. There'll be prizes for you to win as well. And you have a chance to ask some questions and get to know the people who are with PSP. I myself, I am also a member. So without further ado, it now gives me great pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, although now we are all under COVID-19 situation, right? So it is a good opportunity for us to tap into new technology platforms like Zoom and all this to help us to reach out, to send our message across. And the not to keep him waiting anymore, this is the man himself, the founder of PSP. Everyone, please welcome Dr. Tan Cheng Bok. Doc, take it away. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Greg. Good evening. Tonight's event is very unique. I've never conducted a Meet the People session in this manner over a video link. This is maybe the first of its kind in Singapore. This could be the new norm if COVID-19 stays on for a long time. Let me use this occasion to say a few words about PSP. And I will make time for each of the panelists to introduce themselves to you. This is the start of many more interactions of this kind. Now, PSP is the newest political party in Singapore. It was formed on the basis of the 5 fundamental values of democracy, justice, equality, peace, and progress. It started with a first group of 12 persons who came together as the founding members about a year ago. I call these people, these 12 men and women of courage, because they were the first 12 prepared to sign on the dotted line for the founding of this party. In just 1 year, however, we have gathered in strength, and now our membership number is over 1,000. We welcome everybody to join us. There are young and old, although many think that PSP is made of very old people, but there are young and old people joining us. And our members, they come from all walks of life. Some are scholars and have outstanding academic qualifications. Some have not taken the usual academic route. They are a little rougher around the edges, but they made a success of their lives nonetheless, and have plenty to be proud of. And I'm really proud of these people. Some are top executives of MNCs, banks. Others are self-made owners of successful enterprise or managers. Each of them bring their unique life experiences and wisdom to add value to PSP. They come forward to join our mission to build a better future for Singapore. Among our panelists here are those who share your concerns for the future of Singapore, as well as the serious disruptions and the impact on our people caused by COVID-19. They are stepping forward to serve the nation together with us. My link with the West is as a member of parliament for 26 years in the constituency of Ayer Rajah. I was elected 6 times in 6 general elections, and I did fairly well in Ayer Rajah constituency. Of course, being the other adjacent constituencies to Ayer Rajah, I also had the privilege of looking after them as the town council chairman and also as the CDC chairman. I will leave them to make their own introductions. The panelists on our screen, except to say that I'm encouraged and happy to stand with them for you. Okay, Greg, that's my introduction. You can take over now.
Sure, Doc. No problem. Thank you very much there. And that was Dr. Tan Cheng Bok, who is the Secretary General of the Progress Singapore Party, sharing with everyone snippets of information about the history of the party and how it started. Okay, so now it brings me great pleasure to introduce the entire panel that is here present with me right now. And I think all of them are on right now because, you know, sometimes with new technology, we are a little bit unsure and also things may work or there might be some technical hiccups. So I do ask for our viewers to please bear with us. And if there may be some technical hiccups or here and there, do not hold it against us. Okay, and saying that as well, as I mentioned earlier, there'll be an opportunity for you to post your questions. And also we have some nice prizes to give away, and we'll tell you where to send your email answers. And the first 5 correct entries will have a chance to win some very, very nice prizes from PSP. Okay, now without further ado, let me introduce the first person that's on screen. I'd like to introduce Hazel. Hazel, hello, Hazel. Welcome to the show. Hazel Pua. Hi,
Hello,
Hazel.
everyone. My name is Hazel Pua. Thank you all for coming tonight. I was formerly in the admin service in the civil service. I worked for 2 years in the Prime Minister's office and 2 years in the Ministry of Finance. I then left for the private sector and I'm currently running my own business. I started my political journey in 2009 and contested in the general election in 2011 in Choa Chu Kang GRC. What started me questioning the one-party system was when HDB upgrading was linked to votes. To me, that was a sign of the PAP putting the party interest ahead of Singaporean interest, and I wasn't okay with that. Over the years, several decisions made for the sake of economic growth I disagreed with, for example, the casinos and the influx of foreign workers. I became convinced that Singapore needs an alternative. Thank you. Over to you, Craig.
Thank you very much there, Hazel. And by the way, you didn't give me a chance to introduce your title. She's the Vice Chairperson of PSP as well. Okay, thank you very much there, Hazel, for that introduction. The next person I'd like to bring on is none other than Leong Man Wai. He's the Assistant Secretary General of PSP. The floor is yours, Man Wai.
Hi, thank you, Craig. Dear residents, it's my great pleasure to meet all of you today. As Craig has introduced, I'm Leong Man Wai, the Assistant Sec Gen of Progress Singapore Party. I grew up in Chinatown, and after a scholarship to study in Japan, I came back to Singapore to work at GIC to learn to manage the national reserves of Singapore. From then on, I was catapulted into the world of high finance. Very, very pleasing for someone who has grown up in Chinatown, surrounded by relative poverty. And in my early working life, a mentor said this to me: Man Wai, the society is always unfair. You must make it fairer for yourself. Thanks to his advice, I became relatively successful in my career. However, I've always believed that society should be fairer to everybody and not just me. And since politics decides how society looks like, we must make politics not above people, but make politics serve people. Politics serve people. That is PSP. And so here I am to support our respectable Dr. Tan Cheng Bock. And together, we'll make Singapore a fairer and compassionate society. You deserve better. Today, we look forward to many questions and feedback from you so that we can use them to better our policy-making process and bring about a better life to everybody. Thank you. Back to you, Craig.
Thank you. Thank you very much there. There's Leong Man Wai, who is the Assistant Secretary General of Progress Singapore Party. The next person is a member of PSP, and I'd like to introduce to everyone Mr. Jeffrey Koo. Jeff, the floor is yours, please.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jeffrey Koo. I'm your typical Singaporean, born and bred, educated in Singapore, happily staying in the HDB estate, the west of Singapore, like many of you, right? My current role is that of the Chief Marketing Officer of APAC for a multinational in the insurance industry, right? And I also serve as the current Honorary Treasurer of the National University of Singapore Society. Now, over the years in corporate life, particularly in the last few years, I've come across numerous stories, I'm sure you have too, of sad stories of Singaporeans losing their jobs. With COVID-19, this impact will cause more job losses, including those of PMET jobs. My hope is a future where I see a reduced number of qualified Singaporeans taking up Grab jobs, Grab driver jobs, that is, roles to support their families. Now, with an increase, of course, in Singaporeans taking up mid-management and senior management jobs, which have better pay. Now, because every breadwinner impacts one Singapore family, it matters to me, I'm sure it matters to you. Therefore, I joined PSP to try to make a small difference here. Thank you.
Thank you very much there, Jeffrey, from the working as a Chief Marketing Officer?
That's right.
Oh, yeah. Okay, wonderful. Now, the next person I'd like to bring on is my abang. His name is Abbas Kasmani. He's also a member of PSP. Welcome to the show, Abbas, and say hello to your fans.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, dear residents. My name is Abbas Kasmani, and I want to thank you for being here with us. And this is the first time when we are meeting you. I'm a senior trainer in human development towards a safe workplace in one of the multinational company. So I'm a member from Progress Singapore Party. I've been involved in the party's activities like the walkabout and door-to-door, and we residents, and the residents really welcome us very warmly, and they want our involvement because even though we are new, they're happy to have us around with them. Yeah. I joined PSPs because I want our children and our grandchildren for the better future in United Singapore with compassion and equality, right? And I also want them to feel free without fear. If they want to speak out in regards to politics, they will not get into trouble, right? So they can speak up, right? So I want to support and contribute my experience in this any area where it's good for the future of the children, and as long as I live, and I'm going to support this all the way. Thank you very much. Back to you, Craig. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There's Abbas Kasmani there, and wanting to build a better Singapore in terms of at least where you can speak freely without fear of retribution or repercussions. Okay, excellent. Thank you very much to Abbas. The next person I'd like to bring on for the viewers is also a member of PSP, and he is Mr. Logan Arden. Logan, the floor is yours. Say hello to everyone.
Hi, Westerners of Singapore. Nice that you came and joined us today for MeetPSP. My name is Logan, and my full name is Logan Arden, as what Craig mentioned. And I'm an adult educator for the last 10 years. After a fulfilling career with the SAF in over 25 years, I'm now assisting Dr. Tan to achieve his dreams of offering a good alternative voice in the Parliament. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So you're an ex-soldier, and now you're into training. Wonderful. Thank you very much there, Logan. And the next person that I'm going to introduce to you, all of you right now, is also a member of PSP, and his name is Mr. Loo Kee Hong. Loo, the floor is yours. Say hello to everyone. Lou, are you there?
Hi, thank you, Craig.
Yeah.
Hi, good evening. Hi, my name is Loo Kee Hong. 中文是李奇峰. I speak Hokkien, Teochew, and Kung Fu Wa. Saya pun boleh cakap sedikit bahasa Melayu. I am a trained chartered accountant, currently running my sole proprietorship practice in management and leadership. Right. My career started with PricewaterhouseCoopers Singapore back in the early 80s. And I have also worked for Texas Instruments, Motorola, and SST as financial controller, sales operation lead, as well as VP of HR and finance. I have lived and worked in Hong Kong SAR, Shanghai, and Beijing besides Singapore. All right. I am quite active in providing feedback to Singapore government on public policy, and I'm also now the volunteer probation officer for the last 15 years and still serving it. Now, I joined PSP back in August 2019, and I hope to be able to contribute to promoting a national governance that has more transparency, more independent, and more accountability. And of course, to be able to serve the people of Singapore. Thank you very much. Back to you, Craig.
Thank you, Lou. Thank you very much. Now we have still two more persons, and later go back to my colleague Yan Kin Ping, who was having some technical difficulties. Okay, the next person I'm going to bring on is another Rose among the sunflower. Rose among the sunflowers, and she's also a member of PSP, a lawyer by training. Let's welcome Lo Wei Ling. Wei Ling, are you there?
Yes.
Hi. Say hello to everyone.
Hi.
The floor is yours.
I'm actually not used to people calling me Wei Ling because only my mom calls me that, so it's quite an affectionate term. Thanks, Craig.
Yeah.
Good evening to the residents of the West Coast area. I myself have grown up for a large part of my childhood in Clementi Avenue 4, so this is a very familiar ground to me. For myself, I have been an IP and tech lawyer and have been fortunate enough to have spent a large part of my career with one of Southeast Asia's largest firms. In my journey alongside with many of my SME clients, I've seen the difficulties and challenges they have faced. And I believe this COVID-19 crisis has actually brought out a lot of the fundamental issues on costing, staffing, as well as resource management for them. So from my experience, I believe that innovation as well as ideas is actually one of the greatest levelers for people, because as we have seen from experience, many startups with great ideas can make it big, both in Singapore, in Southeast Asia, as well as on the international front. And I fully agree with my fellow teammate, Jeffrey, who echoed that for every breadwinner that has made it big on an arena, it makes a fundamental change and shift in the livelihoods for his family. And it is from this angle, I believe I can make my contribution to help to better the lives of Singaporeans as far as they have the ideas and the ambition to become business owners themselves. So with this, I hope to be able to lend a voice and to be able to share some ideas with the panelists tonight to offer some suggestions on how we may collectively be able to move forward from this current crisis and to stand united as fellow Singaporeans. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Wei Ling, or she's otherwise known to us as Wendy as well. So thank you very much. And we're going to go on to the last person in the panel. He's the youngest guy, so we saved the youngest for last. And his name is Chu Sean Ming. He's a member of PSP as well. Sean, are you there?
Yes, thanks for the introduction, Craig.
Yeah.
Great. First of all, I'd just like to say a good evening to everybody here in the west of Singapore. Very excited to meet all of you, even if it's just virtually over Zoom. and over Facebook, however you are tuning in. And the first thing I'd like to say, Craig mentioned that I am the youngest, but I have to say, when I meet all the fellow panelists up here, they are just as youthful and vibrant as I am. We go for walkabouts and house visits, and I struggle to keep up with them. Some of them, they walk so fast, going around the blocks and handing out flyers. So really, it gives a good testimony to their passion and their desire to want to do something for Singapore. And I would like to say, because of that, another reason I've never felt younger, even though I may be young, is that I actually skipped a grade in school. That's a fun fact about myself. So I've always been ahead of my batch mates since primary school. Not because I was born on the 1st of January. I won't share with you my birthday, but it's you'll get to find out if you follow me on social media and all that. So I was actually very fortunate, I have to say, because MOE reported that since the year 2000, only 7 children were granted permission to skip a grade because they only allow it on a very selective basis. So I count myself very blessed in that regard. And so after primary school in ACS Junior, I went over to Raffles Institution, and it was a very fun time. Doc and I, sometimes we trade stories about our time in RI, and we worked hard and we played hard. And I always admired our school motto, which was Auspicium Melioris AV, which means hope for a better age. And I think I see a lot of that in what we're doing in PSP as well. We want to be that hope for a better Singapore. So now I'm studying over in law in NUS, and I'm very blessed to have been able to learn from the best legal minds in Singapore. And I try to use my legal skills that I've picked up to help others as well. But because of the current COVID situation, we have to be adaptable. So I actually have a Zoom meeting tomorrow morning, bright and early, 10 a.m., to actually give a talk to the NUS Medical School about wills, lasting power of attorney, and advanced medical directives, basically end of life planning. And it's, I think, quite an important issue in Singapore. It's why I signed up to do the talk, volunteer pro bono. And it's because, according even a recent study I read recently by the Institute of Policy Studies said that Singaporeans tend to leave things to the last minute when it comes to such matters. So I think more education is what they recommended in the report. So I think it's a great way also to interact with the elderly. And sometimes, we even have to give the talk in Chinese and Malay when they may not be able to understand. So we have slides in Chinese and Malay, and hopefully that brings up the engagement for them. So I think that's a little bit about my history and life story. And so that's all I'll say for now. Back to you, Craig. Thanks.
Thank you very much there, Sean. That's Chu Sean Ming, a lawyer in training, a lawyer in training. Youthful, no doubt, but has very good aspirations going forward. Okay, so I'd like to bring on the panel back, but right now, if it's possible, I'd like to highlight to everyone who's watching with us right now through Zoom and through Facebook Live, there are some nice prizes that you can win. Before we go on to that, very quickly now, if you have any questions that you'd like to pose to the panelists, please upload your questions. So feel free to ask your questions in the Q&A function on Zoom. In your question, please identify yourself and which area that you are staying in, because although this was originally pitched to the people who are staying in the western part of Singapore, but I'm very, very sure that there are people all over Singapore, and who knows, maybe even Singaporeans who are staying overseas are logging into this webinar that we are conducting through Zoom and Facebook Live as well. So the next thing I like to just have some fun with all of you is to show the prizes that we have, that we are going to ask some simple questions, and I will show you later where do you send your answers to. So we have a total of 5 of our PSP party tees to give away, 5 of our party caps, and 2 of our very cute and adorable Otika otter. Okay, so we'll also give you a hint where you can go and find the information later based on the questions that we will be asking you. So let me see, let's bring back the whole panel onto the screen right now. Thank you very much. And looks like it is time. Now on my clock is about 8:25. Almost going to be 8:30. We'll be ending this session tonight at about 10 p.m. So there'll be ample time for a lot of the questions that are going to be asked tonight. and I'm sure our panel are ready to answer the questions to the best of their ability. So, Doc, is there anything you'd like to add on before we start the question Q&A, which will be coming in fast
Yeah,
and furious?
I've been wondering what happened to Francis.
Oh, we seem to have some technical difficulties, yes, and Francis might be joining us later, or he may not be able to join us. So we'll see how it goes. But currently, Francis is not able to be part of the panel tonight because he's having some technical difficulties with his equipment. As I mentioned earlier, in this kind of situation, sometimes it's a little bit beyond our control. Huh? So if Francis is able to come back on later, we'll be informed, and then we'll let him come back into the Zoom chat and the Facebook Live as well. So in the meantime, any questions? Let me see, because I'm controlling the questions, so I have to ask. Okay, the first one I have here, a question here that is from Ng Tek Wee, and it's directed at Man Wai. Man Wai, this question is, the cost of living that is impacting more jobs. So what would you say to that? Man Wai?
The cost of, sorry, Craig?
The question is the cost of living and
Yes.
how it's impacting more jobs in Singapore.
Cost of living impacting jobs.
Yeah, cost of living, I guess maybe the way it was framed is that cost of living, and is this impacting more jobs in Singapore? Can people survive due to cost of living?
Okay, I think maybe first of all, I talk about jobs, okay? Jobs in Singapore indeed is under a lot of pressure, okay, for the local Singaporeans. And our party is very concerned about that. That will be one of the urgent issues that we will address, okay? In relation to the foreign talents and the foreign workers in Singapore, we will ask the government to review the situation more closely, okay? Like for example, the foreign talents part especially is worrying for us because it impacts a lot of our PMET, so to speak. And these are the people who are the breadwinners of our middle-class Singaporean families. And that is very, very important because they form the backbones of our society. Okay? And for foreign workers, it is also a concern for us because we can't be an economy that survives on the coolies, you know. Coolies is a term used for our forefathers who came from China and India in the turn of the 20th century. They came here and they do a lot of hard work, and we call them coolies. So in modern day Singapore, we don't want to see any more coolies, you know, and we want to take care of them. We want to give them a respectable and dignified work experience in Singapore as well. Okay, so but for the foreign workers who are on permit, so-called the FW, which is creating a lot of headlines now, attention now because of the COVID infection. Okay, in order to solve that problem, we will have to upgrade our economy. Okay, so overall, I think first we look at how the foreign workers, foreign talents impact the PMET. Okay, try to make sure that the jobs are allocated to our Singapore PMETs, and then next we upgrade the economy so that even the very manual jobs that are done by the foreign workers now can be upgraded to better jobs to create more opportunities for Singaporeans. So that is the main thing we are looking at. In terms of cost of living, then the cost of living, of course, in Singapore has been going up most of the time. The most important factor behind that is housing cost. Okay, but at the same time, you also have healthcare costs that's escalating. Also, the education cost in terms of the preschool education cost to the parents. Then you also have the continuous or constant rise in taxes and fees for public services. All these are issues that PSP will push for change when we are in Parliament. Okay, I don't know whether they answered the question or not. Maybe.
Okay, because the question was a bit disjointed just now. The question was related to due to the COVID situation and all these things. So I apologize for that. But doesn't matter. We'll move on to the next question that has come in right now, and I have it in front of me. This is from a person named Nala S. And the question is, the incumbent government has a plan to have a 10 million population. And this person has decided to direct this question to Mr. Loganathan. So Logan, what is your answer to that? The incumbent government has a plan to have a 10 million population. What is your view on this? Logan, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Nala, for the question. Yes, thanks, Craig. Okay, yeah. I believe we have learned a big lesson from this COVID-19. Everyone knows that we are one of the highest density population in the world, and a pandemic like this will cause havoc to people's lives. So when we were only about 2.5 million in the 70s, we projected that we wanted to go to 4 million. Then we went on to 5 million. And just in 2011, I remember they were projecting that we should go to 6.9 million. And now you're telling me that they want to project to 10 million. So, assuming that we keep increasing, do you think we will stop at 10 million? I really doubt it. I will say that last week, Saturday, when I was getting the papers, I remember this lady who is actually from China, and she was given a Singapore citizenship. And she actually runs a massage parlor or beauty parlor. And she gave some, the title was actually something to do with accused breakdown and cries. And apparently for
Logan seems to be frozen or get stuck a little bit. We can barely hear you right now. Again, we're having some bandwidth issues with Logan.
Services, she was fined $21,000. And I read the papers, she said died of cancer to make. Okay, I will talk slowly. I believe that we can and must do it slowly. We cannot just push the population up to 10 million. So what I'll say is that in short, we should promote the total fertility rate of Singaporeans than to import foreigners into our country, unless they are really talented people. So we should calibrate the number of new citizens even more carefully from now on. Thank you. Back to you, Craig.
All right, thank you. Well, we lost a chunk of what Loganathan was trying to say just now. So never mind. As I said, these are the little things that can go a bit wonky. So we lost a bit of you there, but never mind. We'll move on to the next question. The next question that we have is from Mr. Ron Horn. This from Facebook Live. His question is, even if PSP is elected into the parliament, do you think you can all last for more than one term due to the PAP majority? How will you pass policies as the major party will pose difficulties to you? So both they will veto PSP proposals. So what are the immediate policies you can raise and pass to benefit Singaporeans and future generations of Singaporeans? So this is the question. It's quite a lengthy one. I hope you guys can hear me and can see that I'm talking, but the picture I have on main screen is...
anybody to answer the question?
No one. So anyone on the panel can choose to answer that question. Do you want me to repeat?
Okay, maybe I answer the question.
Right? Sure. Thank you.
Okay. I think, of course, you know, the government now has a super majority in parliament. Okay, this super majority is even more than what is required to amend our constitution at will, which is 67%. But the current government controls 93% of the seats in parliament. So indeed, any opposition party that goes into parliament will be facing a very uphill task, okay? So as a result, we, PSP, had always advocated that we want a 1/3 majority in parliament. And in the next government, that will be 32 seats, okay? With 32 seats, I think we can make a substantial impact on parliament, okay? Even when we have not attained the 32 seats, what PSP will do in parliament is that we will maintain a very high profile in questioning the incumbent government on all the policies that we are interested in pushing for the people, okay? We will be attending parliament all the time, okay? Our attendance will be almost 100%. Of course, sometimes you have to give there are some unforeseen circumstances, but we will 100% attendance, and we will be very active in questioning the incumbent government. And hopefully through our questioning in Parliament and the work we do in society, including putting up periodic reports on our assessment of policies, we will be able to create the momentum in society to push for change. Craig, I hope that answered the questions.
Thank you very much there. That's Leong Man Wai, the Assistant Secretary General of PSP, answering that particular question. All right, the next question I have is directed at Sean, and this one is actually from a person named Ken Lee. The question for Sean: generally, young people don't seem to care about politics in Singapore. How do you propose to get more young people interested in politics? So Sean, that is your question.
Okay, thanks, Ken, for that question. If I may, I would just like to push back a little bit on the idea that young people don't care about politics. Many of my friends I talk to in school are interested in what is going on in our country, and they do deeply feel that they have a stake in Singapore. But to me, when I talk to them, there is a very deep sense that the current system of politics is very entrenched. And so that creates a climate of political apathy. And the comment I get most of the time is, what can we do? Is there really anything that can be done? Yeah. Can I really make a difference? So I think for me, to get to the nub of your question, what we hope to do in PSP is to be a source of hope, as what Man Wai has mentioned, to gather that momentum. And hopefully that will bring more young people on board when they see that there are people, especially here within the party already. We have many young people, not only myself. And together, we believe that young Singaporeans can make a difference. So to get to the very nub of your question, how exactly should we get young people interested in politics? I think it's simple. We need to talk about the issues that young people are concerned about. And that has not, unfortunately, always had a spotlight in our national conversation. What I talk about amongst my friends, one topic as an example I would share now, is that I feel that Singaporeans and young Singaporeans especially are despondent about their future. They are not optimistic about their career prospects and what they're going to do. Many of them feel that what has worked for their parents will not work for them. And they're trying to find new and creative ways to, make it in the world, especially with forces like globalization, really making an impact and forcing them to be more and more competitive. So there is that sense that many young Singaporeans, when we enter the workforce, we are just another cog in the machine, that we can't escape this rat race. So I was reading recently, there was a survey done by Qualtrics Global Employee Pulse, and it was done in 2019. And it reported that only 49% of Singaporeans are satisfied at their job. And this means that more than half of all Singaporeans are unhappy at work. And a further 40% said they are not motivated to go to work in the morning. So I think for us, we need to start talking about whether there has been constructive effort to talk about the mental state of our workforce, how they feel about the jobs available for them, whether they are excited about the opportunities they have for them. And so, at the end of the day, politics affects everything. And, where the policies of the government will affect, where young people stay, where they live, where they eat. So I do think young people are interested, and the way we get them more interested is to talk about the issues that they care about. Thanks. That's my question. That's my answer to your question, Ken. Back to you, Craig.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, there, Sean.
Craig, if you don't mind, I add a few words. Sorry.
Sure. Go ahead, Man Wai. Yes.
But I think this is a very passionate topic that we ought to talk about. Okay, I think a lot of the older generation in Singapore Singaporeans do think that the younger generation is not so motivated. They are not so proactive in their career and in their work. work ethics at job and all that. I think that's really a misconception. I think I belong to the Merdeka generation, okay? So we have to understand that during our generation, job opportunities are very easy to come by, okay? Every year, every few years, you have a big jump in salaries, because we are learning from the West and there were a lot of jobs available. Nowadays, because our economy is in a developed country level, okay? So as a result, the good jobs are difficult to come by. Not that the jobs are worse than during my generation, but now we want better jobs than my generation, okay? So we have to actually create these low fruits, so to speak, for the slightly lower than the fruits that the young are seeing today, but some of these fruits have to be created. So PSP will be coming out with some new ideas as to how we create a new economy with more entrepreneurship and more innovation, okay? So I like to challenge the young generation that PSP, yes, under the leadership of Dr. Tan Cheng Bock, okay, we'll be launching a Merdeka solution, and that can only be completed with the work and the dedication of the younger generation. Okay, we challenge you to follow through the momentum that we have built up for you.
Thank you very much there, Manwai, for adding on to what Sean was sharing with us earlier on. The next question I have is actually from Facebook Live, Ms. Karishma Waswani. And the question is directed at Dr. Tan Cheng Bock. Sir, what would you have done differently in terms of handling the COVID-19 situation in Singapore? Well, that's a hot button question. Huh? So, Doc, if you want to answer that question, it's directed at you. The question again, what would you have done differently in terms of handling the COVID-19 situation in Singapore? Take it away, Dr. Tan Cheng Bock.
I think this is a very, very important question. And it's going to see many changes in our lifestyle, in the way we live, and in the way we work, our social life, and so on. I think the most important thing in managing this COVID-19 is isolation and separation of those people who have been infected from those who are not infected. They are very fundamental, very basic. I come from the generation where I manage infectious disease very, very commonly. In my generation, we have tuberculosis, we have measles, we have many infectious diseases that we have to manage and control. So whenever we come across infections like, let's say a tuberculosis, we do straight away detection and isolation. And this is very, very important. For example, let us discuss about the dormitory problem.
I can't
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes. Please continue, Doc. Yeah, just please continue.
Okay. You see, the dormitories is one area that will always be a danger for this COVID-19 spread because it is confined and all the people are gathered there. And I think social distancing, as I know, will be a problem because of the compact nature of the people housed in that in the dormitory. Therefore, if the dormitory had been, you must quickly when the dormitory problem, you must manage it quickly. I worry that in the early when the management of this COVID virus was affecting the dormitories, they should quickly do testing of all the patients there. And all the patients that are tested are positive, you keep them in the dormitories. But those who are negative, you must quickly move them out. Because when you are tested negative and you are staying close to those who are tested positive, there's also this psychological effect that they will also get it. So it's best to move them out immediately, all those who are tested negative, to a place where they can be better controlled. When I first saw the situation, I was thinking they should be isolated in those who are tested negative to a stadium. Why do I pick a stadium? Because it's standalone building, away from population. Because you must make sure there's this distancing of those who are well and not well. So in a stadium where we can there are better facilities for those people who are residing there, you find that hygiene will be better. Social distancing also should be better because the place is big. And of course, we can build those tentages that you see now building at some of the places the government have done. We can build beautiful structures there too and house them separately. Then you isolate all these people who are tested negative. Those who are positive, keep them in the dormitory. Don't move them. Make sure you treat them. Those that need hospitalization, you must move them away. Those that don't need, you must keep on monitoring them. This is a very fundamental, basic way of managing infectious disease in a confined environment like the dormitories. I think it will take a very long time for discussion of the COVID-19 management. And I believe that we are going to have an item on this, or a discussion on this COVID-19 pandemic soon. Our party is going to organize something. There, I think we'll reveal more details. But what I'm just telling you are just very basic, fundamental management of infectious diseases in dormitories. Thank you.
Okay, Doc. Yeah, thank you very much there. So that was your take on how you would have done it maybe slightly differently on the COVID-19 issue. But on hindsight, when we have seen the things that have been going on and what could have been done better, but it's just a problem or a time bomb waiting to explode. Because one of the main things I think about the dormitory issue was the overcrowding that was inside there, and suddenly to have to do social distancing and all this, it is really a challenge. Right, the next question I have comes from Eric Ng, and this is directed at Lu Ki Hong. Lu, if you are ready to take on this question, the question that Eric has for you is, PSP is known as an old person's party. What do you have to say about this? So Lu, do you want to take this question? It's directed at you.
Yes, thank you very much, Craig.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Eric, for the questions. The first thing I'd like to refer you to is what my colleague, the 22 years old Xiao Ming, has just said, right? It's not about the age, in my opinion. Age is just a number, all right? More importantly, all right, it's the state of the body and the mind, right? Is the body strong? Are the mind agile and sharp? And also, is there a passion to want to serve? And more importantly, are there compassion to want to care for others, right? So I don't think old or young is the critical issues. However, having said that, if we look at the panelists tonight, all right, we have Sean, which is very young, and we have Wendy, which is also very young, all right, we have Hazel Point, is also very young, all right, so I think we have a good mix of the young and the old. Now, at the same time, right, given that PSP is going to be here for the long haul, there is always a need for us to recruit new and young bloods to come into our party so that we can develop them and prepare them for the futures. Now, take this from me, we are here for the long haul, all right? As Man Wei has mentioned, the initial goal is to try and deny them, the ruling party, a 2/3 majorities, right? If we can achieve that, we build the momentum, with all the young people coming on, I think we have a good chance of finding some good solutions to the issues and challenges that Singaporeans are facing. Right, thank you very much. Over to you, Craig.
Thank you very much there, Luki Hong. That's answering the question. Is PSP known as an old person's party? Of course not. There is a good mix of people of varying ages, from very youthful ones to those who are a bit more senior. And of course, with the seniors come experience, our life experiences. That's wonderful. Okay, the next question is I have on my screen here is from Yap Carway from Facebook Live. Yap Carway Ken. And the question is directed at Doc. His question is, how will PSP make a different impact and help Singapore? So Doc, the question is directed at you.
Yeah, I think I'll take that question. I'll take that question last when you all have finished.
Okay. So we will come back to that question a bit later, huh?
So be a bit patient. I'll come to that question.
Okay, no problem. So for those of you who have just joined us or ever been joining us from the start, my name is Craig and I'm the host and moderator for this MeetPSP. If you're wondering what the M stands for, it stands for MeetPSP. So this is our first ever webinar, doing this through Zoom and on Facebook Live as well. We have a panel of people from PSP and of course the Secretary General, Dr. Tan Cheng Bok, together with Assistant Secretary General Leong Man Wai and Hazel Phua, and a few other people here are on hand to take any questions you may have. So if you have questions, do post them on right now. We're going to go on and have a more light-hearted moment, and can we put on the prizes that we like to test our viewers right now? Okay, now we have all these things to give away, a total of 5 PSP polo t-shirts, and for that one, okay, we're going to give away 5. So for those of you who, this is a giveaway question, who is, before I give you the question, right, then you have to, can we have the question coming, the question coming up? Who is the Secretary General of PSP? That's a very obvious who the Secretary General. He just spoke, just like before me, he was the one who was just speaking. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, if you know the answer to this question, you may post your answers to westcoast@psp.org.sg. Are we able to type that out for the viewers who may want to take part? And the first 5 correct answers will be then given a chance to walk away with these nice prizes. Again, the answers, you post them to West Coast, all in lowercase, at psp.org.sg. Yes, it's up on the screen right now. So if you know the answer, fastest fingers, tap, 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 and then send the email with this answer. And the first 5 correct persons who send in the answers, we will give you the t-shirts. And of course, right now, because the CB is still on, the circuit breaker, so we believe that apparently from 1st or 2nd of June, it will be lifted in stages. So for those of you who have been who have won the prizes, we will invite you to our PSP office, which is located on the 14th floor of Bukit Timah Shopping Center. And you can take the MRT there as well, which is on the downtown line. So that is the first question we like to throw out to everyone. If you know the question, the answer to that question, who is the Secretary General of PSP? So you should know, he's one of the panel here today. If you don't know, then you are probably from another planet. Okay, let's see what's the next question we have coming up for the. Okay, this is a Facebook Live, and the question is from Mr. Andy Lok. The question is not directed at anyone in particular. The question is, how is PSP going to help those low-wage workers and labor-intensive like cleaners and gardeners to earn a better income? Their income has remained stagnant, but inflation is going up every year. With such cheapskate wages, there's no way these workers going to support themselves, let alone support a family. How is PSP going to help these people? So who among the panel would like to take on that question? It's quite a long question. So he's saying, how do you help low-wage workers because they earn so little income and the income has remained stagnant without factoring in inflation, so they can barely take care of themselves, let alone support a family. So what can PSP do to make a difference to these workers? Who would like to take on or answer this question? Big question, Well, a lot of things that, to the best of our ability. Who would like to take on among the panel?
fellow panelists? Okay.
Oh, Hazel. Is Hazel? Do you want to take on that question?
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, Hazel, please. The floor is yours.
Right. Okay. Actually, right now, we do have certain minimum wage schemes in place. It's called the progressive wage model, which is applicable for three industries: the cleaners, the security guards, and the landscape sector. But the problem is that the salary level that is now fixed is still at rather low. So PSP, we would actually push for a higher salary level for higher minimum wage, and also to extend this minimum wage model to more sectors instead of just being limited to these three. And also, at the same time, apart from the progressive wage model, what we have now is the WIS, the Workfare Income Supplement Scheme, which is the difference between the WIS and the progressive wage model is that under the progressive wage model or minimum wage scheme, the employers pay, but under the WIS, the taxpayers actually pay it. So currently under WIS, the government actually tops up the salary of those lower income wage earners. Now, the trouble with this scheme is that the amount is too little, and a lot of it is actually going into the CPF. So we will be pushing for a higher payout and also for more of it to be in cash rather than mostly going into CPF. Thank you.
Thank you very much there, Hazel, for that answer. Okay, the next question that I have, and this is from Facebook Live, is directed to Wendy. And the question is, if PSP is elected over at the west of Singapore, can other parts of Singapore look to PSP for help? How are you going to arrange to meet us to listen to our problems? That means people from all over Singapore, can they come over to the west if only you guys are at the west side? Can you come and help them or not? Wow, tough question, man. So Wendy, would you like to tackle this question?
I think I always like to look at the positive side, and if we have such overwhelming response from other Singaporeans across the island, then I think it shows clearly the popularity of the party and the team members that will be putting forward in the West. But I think immediately there might be some practicalities in other residents from other parts attending MPSs in the West, for example. But then now that we are enabled by technologies just as Zoom and Google Meet, I think there is a possibility to have more regular sessions such as this, so that apart from the local residents, we can also hear from time to time from Singaporeans from other parts of their concerns, whether it's of cost of living, housing, CPF issues. And through that broadest perspective, I think it also gives us the ground feedback that we need to serve better as MPs in the House when we want to raise questions on issues of national policy. So I think it's both a yes and a no to that question. And I think with technology, it would be a great enabler for us to be able to have more of such dialogues. Yeah.
Okay, good. So I guess maybe the owners of the premise of that question is probably that only PSP will win if there was an election, that you all will win the West Coast GRC. So they are wondering, if I'm staying in Bedok, can I come to you all for help? So who knows? PSP may not win just the West Coast GRC. We might win in all the areas that they choose to contest in. So let's be more optimistic about that chance, and to have as Manwai mentioned just now, the Assistant Secretary General, that we are able to have maybe not by PSP alone, but with the help of the other opposition parties, to be able to gain a 1/3 majority, so that they cannot just change the laws because they have the super majority in Parliament. Okay, talking about Parliament as well and opposition parties, I have a question now, which is, anyone can answer this question. How is the cooperation level between the various opposition parties? And the person who posed the question is someone named Chi Wong. So who would like to take on that question?
Craig, I'll take this question.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah, because in my role as assistant Sec Gen of the party, I'm directly involved in liaising with all the other parties with regards to the general election strategy. Okay, so far we have reached we have a very cordial relationship, and I think the likelihood of a three-corner fight in the GRC is quite minimal. Okay, there has been a lot of progress in the coordination among the opposition parties. Okay, this is very important for us to go forward, okay, in establishing the multi-party political system in Singapore, okay, and because together, we hope, okay, at this general election, we'll be able to attain at least a 1/3 majority, 32 seats. Okay.
So that's the target that you guys are aiming for.
I hope that answer Chi Wong's question. Yeah.
I hope he's happy with that answer. Yeah. So that is at least the main target. The opposition is not trying to become the government because it might be too tall an order. But at least if you have a 1/3, which is 32 seats, right, as you just mentioned, yes, that will deny the incumbent majority in parliament. And if they want to make any changes, it will be actively debated in parliament. Okay, excellent, excellent. Now the next question I have is directed at Mr. Abbas Kasmani, and the question that's directed at Abbas is, how can we improve the competitiveness of the Malay community? Abbas, would you like to take that question? Or what can be done to increase the competitiveness of the Malay Singaporean? I think it's about the same question. So Abbas?
Thank you for the question. Yes, for the Malay community, this has been very close to the heart for decades. So Malays continue to represent the lowest income group in the country. There are minority Malays elites, excellence, but mostly from the middle and upper class. So they are available, but although majority still struggle up to today to meet the final requirement. Basically, the issues related to community can be, I can summarize one or two. The basic thing is the education. The Malay community continues to lag behind in terms of education because the reason is Malay self-help group was established somewhere in 1982. That is to help raise the education achievements of the Malays. But the question is it enough being helped? You know? There are funds received from the communities and governments, but has it been effectively distributed to support the student tuition fees for the lower income families? Working very hard to reach out to them and identify the students and families who we can support. It's not about they coming to us. We got to go to them because the situation is a lot of these families, they do not want to come out to us. Either they're shy, either they feel what they call hopeless, helpless, or betrayed, whatever, right? And if they are not educated enough, and of course, in terms of employment, due to lack of that competition in educational attainment, the Malays cannot get the best job. They can't. And further reinforce the policies on foreign talent. Now you see the migrants. So if you look at the Malays itself, they are facing competitions outside. And with the new residents, that's a very heavy, and a lot of them in my friends whom I know, the young, the mid, they are losing their jobs, particularly in my professions, you know. So let's look at this. The educational disparity between the Malay community and also the other ethnic communities is not only a Malay problem. Now you got to see the wider perspective of that. It is a national concern, and the connected to the social, economy, and political challenges. So confronting Singapore in the global, world where we are now. So the task for Singapore is to strike a balance, the need to promote multiracialism and meritocracy, with the need to help Malay community narrow the educational gap for post-secondary achievements. So that balancing is especially crucial. Therefore, I must say, in a multi-ethnic country such as Singapore here, where inter-ethnic comparison in social economy and education achievements are sensitive, very sensitive, but yet it's unavoidable. So we want to look at that deeper and how we can achieve better for the future, which I mentioned earlier. And personally, what I feel for myself is that's for my future, my grandchildren and my children. And everyone here, especially the millennials, right? That's the challenge. And we will go to that forward. Thank you very much for the question. Back to you, Craig.
Thank you very much there, Abbas Kasmani, who answered the question about what can be done to increase the competitiveness of the Malay Singaporean. All right, the next question that I have is from a person named Terence Soon. My question is directed to Jeffrey Koo. Some people who live in the West have expressed concern about the maintenance of their estate when PSP is going to be running the town council. How would this be managed to allay the residents' fears? So Jeffrey, would you like to take this question? Once again, the question is, some people who live in the West have expressed concern about the maintenance of their estate when PSP has taken over the running of the town council. Okay, I think you have a trump card there. Leave it to you, Jeff.
Yeah, okay. I'm not sure what is a trump card. Good evening, everyone. Right, I stay in the West also, and I stayed in Clementi West for a period of time, right? Talking about this town council, right? Dr. Tan has a lot of experience here. He has a lot of compatriots, friends that they worked with for a very long time, and also members of PSP that have experience with dealing with the town council, right? So in that sense, I'm not too worried. Having said that, currently in West Coast, they are doing a pretty good job, but I think much more can be done, right? In terms of the facilities, in terms of the activities, right? West Coast, as it is now, is a little bit soulless to some extent, right? We have the old Ginza Plaza, now we call it West Coast Plaza, and everything is quite down, right? Because I've been there for 10 odd years. I think more can be done through the town council, through the town council's, discussion with retailers, discussion with businessmen that want to come into West Coast and make it a more vibrant little town, right? So I would say that when PSP comes in, we'll try to think slightly out of the box, right? Apart from cleanliness, which is definitely important, right? And it's something that I know the current team has the right skill sets and right people to come and help. We also have to think of other things, right? To have a soul for West Coast itself, right? To make it a more interesting place, a place that people will really want to go to, you know. Maybe Orchard Road in the West kind of thing, right? But it's going to take some time to build. So that's my answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much there. Okay, now next question is open to the panel. Anyone can choose to answer this question. Lately, there are many negative news about PSP members and the members' turnover is high. How can PSP give confidence to the Singaporeans? So who would like to take on this question? Once again, the question is, there are many negative news about PSP members and the recent upheavals that's been going on, and the members are leaving as well, or turnover is high. So how can PSP give confidence to Singaporeans? Who would like to take on this question? Who would like to take on? Let's see, is there any one of the panel members who wants to take on this question? Anyone? They've all been muted.
Craig, this is Abbas. I will take on the question.
Oh, sure, Abbas. Thank you.
Right. So thanks again for the question. So why people in the past, not long ago, the members left from in our party. Like Dr. Tan says, we started 12, then we became 1,000 over members, over 1,000, and obviously we have different diversity. different baggage that members brought in the what you call in the party. Yeah, because some of them they've probably what I feel is it's the difficulty in fitting themselves the culture that we are building here. So basically, we're talking about compassion, yes, right? We're talking about equality. We're talking about democracy, progress, peace, justice. We need to understand that fundamental. It's a way of life. It's a way of life. If we have that inside us, then it's not about the party that we are doing all this. It's because we want to change, not the party change. We. So it's for me, for myself, if I say this to myself, I want that change. And I believe the cultural movement of the party, the fundamental, and I look forward through the traditions that this party will establish in the future. So those who are not fit to that and those need to be disciplined, we will do that. Because you know what, this is what, I believe this is what Singaporeans want. This is what I want also as a member of the party itself.
Right. So yeah, there it goes. Yeah, thank you.
Greg, can I say something?
Sure, Doc. Yeah.
Let me say something. You see, I believe in giving everybody a chance to join our party. And in the beginning, everybody had a chance to join the party and work together. Now, over time, we realized that some joined the party expecting what the party can do for them. I was hoping that when they come and join the party, they would have put some effort to make sure the party grows in strength and also in its ability to help the country later on. So it is not coming and expecting what the party can do, but you must also do something for the party. Then there are people who believe that the way of doing things should be only is the correct way, and they think that we should comply to the way of doing things. But then we have party discipline, we have party ways of allowing people to come and express the disappointments or the dissatisfaction. We give them everybody a chance. But sometimes they got very big egos. And when they got big egos, it's very difficult. When the egos get what they call hurt, they react very negatively. But you just ask yourself, we are 1,000 over strong. We have about maybe 20, 30 people resigning. To me, it's no big deal. Currently, we are waiting. There's so many waiting to join us still. We want the people, when they come and join the PSP, to do something for the country and not for themselves. And if those people who come in to join the PSP, hoping to extract something from the party for themselves, I think even if they leave, I will not feel sorry. That's all.
All right, thank you very much there, Doc. So yeah, it's, as in any party that's new and growing, you will experience this kind of issues or challenges where people come and people go if things are not done according to what is their expectation, you know. And I remember a phrase, I believe it was one of the American presidents who said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what can you do for your country? So in that sense, we are all here to try our best to serve. Okay, which brings me on to the next question. And after this, I'll give the next set of questions where you get a chance to win our PSP party cap. Okay, we have 5 prizes to give away. So stay tuned. Don't go away, please, after this question. Now, the question that I have is directed any one of the panel can choose to answer this. What is PSP's view on Singapore being run as a company? The country is run as a company. With even stat boards and public services that is on a commercial basis. That means everything is about profit maximizing. So anyone likes to take on this question from the panel? Once again, the question was, what is PSP's view on Singapore being run as incorporated with stat boards and public services on commercial basis? That means, they are not there just to give service, but their eventual objective is to make money first. So who would like to take on that question? Can I just have a show of hands? Jeffrey, yes, Jeffrey.
Hi, everyone. We've got to be practical about this. At the end of the day, right? It'll be good that certain stat boards do make some money. We still need money to run, right? You cannot have everything not making profit as it is, right? So it is important to have some of them running correctly, profitable, and some of them actually running maybe not so profitable to subsidize certain areas of a country and needs, right? Now, one thing in particular, strangely enough, is in today's newspaper, right? Or you're talking about the bid for this project, right? For dementia patients, right? It was in the newspaper, and the bid was simply too low, right? So it wasn't taken, right? So that was a bit startled to me, right? At the end of the day, we have Singaporeans that suffer from dementia. A lot of them are older, right? And they've done their bid for Singapore, right? So things like this, we may not need to make so much money out of it, right? I can fully understand that some have to, and I would disagree that everything has to, be on a subsidy basis, and then you don't make money. It does not make sense. So there is a balance involved in this thing. It's not just, it's not an easy answer. But having said that, certain things, for example, this project should be, it should be calculated in a different way. It should be calculated maybe not so profitable, or even, losing a little bit. That's fine, right? Because there's a separate purpose for it, right? So that's what I've got to say.
Thank you. I guess that's the challenge right now in Singapore, is that many organizations, stat boards or GLCs, whatever, of course, everything is about profit maximization, but that may not be the correct approach in everything that we do in our life here. Right, interesting. Okay, let's, before we go on to the next question, and now it's a bit of the fun part again, it's time for me to pose the second question. So can I have my admin people help me with the trivia question? The first one, and it doesn't matter if you should have, okay, we have the prizes again. We have a total of the t-shirt and the caps, and now we are giving out 5 caps. So for those of you who are still tuning with us right now, the second question we have is this one. Can you tell us what do the 5 fronts and the stem of the PSP logo represent? If you don't know where the answer, please go to our Facebook page and our website as well. You will be able to get the answers there. Okay, go to our website, which is psp.org.sg, and our Facebook page as well. You'll be able to get the answers there. And once you have the answers, please send it to this website, which is West Coast at send your email, sorry, to your answers to westcoast@psp.org.sg, and the first 5 correct answers will be able to win the nice cap that I'm holding in my hand right now. Okay, so if you can see the cap, can we put me live again so that they can see the cap? Okay, this is the cap. Okay, this is the cap, very nice cap. We are going to give away 5 of this. So the question again, okay, was what do the 5 fronts and the stem represent? So if you know the answer, please post them and send it out to this send the email answer to westcoast@psp.org.sg. All right, folks. So we are giving out, and the last one we are giving out is you see this Otika otter. This is our emblem, our mascot for PSP. So we are giving away 2 of these. Okay, the last question will be coming a bit later at about 9ish, maybe closer to 9:35, 9:40. And now we are going back to try to take on a few more questions. And this one is directed at Wendy. Wendy, okay. The question that we have for you is, Wendy, we hear that lawyers can get extremely busy in their work. Will you be quitting your job to serve the people full time if you do get voted in as an MP? Wow, that's a serious question. So Wendy, can you take on this question? Hi, Wendy, you're live. Can you hear? You have to unmute. Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, Wendy.
Sorry, some technical issue. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now. Yeah, we can hear you now. Yeah. Can you hear? Did you hear the question?
Yes, I did. So again, I think that'll be a good problem to have if PSP is elected into the House, and if any of the candidates is a lawyer. I think the assessment can be made only when they are better connected with the ground to see what the needs are. But I'm glad to say that PSP has a very unique mentor in Dr. Tan. with vast experience, having himself been the chairman of Jurong East Town Council, as well as West Coast Ayer Rajah Town Council. So with that, I think we would best be able to plan our MPSs, our grassroots activities. And I think for lawyers as well who are going to court, our court schedules are always given to us and our hearings are always given to us ahead of time. So there's actually a lot of room for planning. And I believe if we don't do a good job, Dr. Tan will probably call and scold us personally. So that's actually quite a scary thing. That's an inherent deterrence. So, but of course, from a broader perspective, I think that being an ongoing practicing lawyer would actually serve better if I'm be able to be placed in a position to keep track of the latest developments in law. And if I'm that MP, that would probably make me a sharper representative in the parliament to be able to raise issues, not only on behalf of the residents, but for Singaporeans at large. And hopefully over time, they will also see the legal profession as a service to the community. So it's not only in my capacity or role as an MP, but through my ongoing work as a lawyer that I'm actually serving the community almost 24/7. Because a lot of people say lawyers work very hard. So literally, if you're both an MP and a lawyer, there is an ongoing and continuing role in serving the community.
Okay, thank you very much, Ross. So you may not have to quit your job, so it's a matter of finding the right balance then for yourself, Wendy. If let's say you do get elected and become a member of parliament, yeah, and you will bring your legal skills as well. So at least lawyers in Singapore are still highly respected for the profession that they are in. In some other countries, maybe in America, lawyers are just above used car salesmen, you know. So that is a terrible.
And from a very practical level, if you have a lawyer as an MP, you can run your own legal clinics at the MPS. So if your volunteers are not free for that week, you can personally meet your residents and hear from them directly what are their issues and lend your legal skill sets, as well as hopefully that sense of empathy to be able to solve problems from them. Not just from a legal perspective, but also taking on the role of an MP. So I think it's actually a happy marriage of both roles if myself or another candidate from the party is given the opportunity to serve.
Okay then, thank you very much. Next question I have is directed at Hazel. And the question that is for you is, what is your view on our economy's reliance on foreign labor? So Hazel, would you like to answer that question? Once again, the question is, what is your view on Singapore's economy's reliance on foreign labor?
Okay, in our labor force, at the moment, we actually have 1.4 million foreign workers with us. This is a large number, and we let them in for the purpose of economic growth. But pursuing economic growth by bringing in large numbers of foreign workers brings with it a lot of other problems and cost, even before this COVID crisis that we have now. For example, having this steady supply of cheap foreign labor actually disincentivize employers from pursuing productivity growth because they don't have incentive to invest in equipment or processes that will bring in the growth in productivity. And secondly, it also depresses the wages of locals. I have been looking at the numbers from 2009 to 2019, comparing the growth of labor force versus real wage growth in all of these years. Now, and there's a distinct pattern emerging where in years where you have higher growth in labor force, you get lower real wage growth, and conversely, when the labor force growth is actually lower, you have a higher real wage growth. So while we bring in these foreign workers, it helps the economy as a whole to grow, but on an individual basis, we actually don't necessarily benefit. And of course, having all these additional population pushes up demand for housing, transport, goods and services in general, and thereby pushing up prices and contributes to our increase in cost of living as well. So, and apart from that, there's congestion problems. Our buses and trains are more cramped. Our social fabric is strained, and so on. So there are a lot of costs that we are paying that affects our quality of life. Now, to me, the whole point of economic growth should be to improve the quality of life of the people. So if the growth comes at the expense of the quality of life, then it kind of defeats its own purpose. And now, of course, with the COVID situation, that has become even less viable. We cannot continue to keep cramming as many workers as we possibly can into our little red dot. Just look at all the problems that we're now having at our dormitories. So I think going forward, it is something that we definitely need to take steps, and perhaps actually this might be the kick that we need to push us into finally restructuring our economy. We need to stop this easy supply of cheap foreign labor and force employers towards taking advantage of developments in artificial intelligence, in investing in further automation, and to reduce the need for labor. And that's when we can actually move to a higher wage model. Yeah.
Thank you very much there, Hazel, for your answer. I guess that is one of the perennial problems that Singapore as a society faces, because we want to have our cake and eat it all at the same time, and there's this cheap supply of foreign labor. And you always hear this question that Singaporeans are very choosy and don't want to do this kind of job. But when you do that kind of job and you cannot even survive and pay for your daily necessities, it does become a very double-edged sword. It's not that Singaporeans don't want to do the job. So how do we then resolve? So maybe because we have made it too easy, too easy for the for employers to take the easy way out, which is to bring a lot of foreign labor into Singapore, and then as a result, artificially keeping their wages low, so that those people at the lower strata who are earning lesser will never be able to get out of that poverty trap. And that is a real serious problem, and is no easy solutions. Now, the next question I have, which I want to highlight from Mr. Gopal Pati. What will PSP do if voted into the government to bring back the pride of Singaporeans? Our soccer is a good example. This is a football fan. So who would like to take on this? Because in a way, the sense of being a Singaporean has been eroded through the years. Sometimes you see people saying that, so what, even if I'm a Singaporean, so what if I've done my national service? A PR may be enjoying better benefits than me. And the only difference is that the PR may not be able to vote. But other than that, so what does it mean to be a Singaporean? What does it mean to grow your roots here? Sometimes I've spoken to people, they say our immigration policy is like the way NParks grow instant trees, So they need trees, they plant them somewhere, then they need it tomorrow, they pluck up the whole tree and then they put it in this place. Ta-da! We have instant trees. So it's the same maybe an approach that we use with citizens as well. We need more people, ta-da, we just bring them into Singapore. So who would like to answer this question? I think it's quite an interesting one. What will PSP do if voted into the government to bring back the pride of Singaporeans? What does it mean again to be Singaporeans? I think that's very important. And one example is they say this person saying Gopal Pati says is soccer, so through football. So maybe we can rejoin the Malaysia Cup. I still remember those days of the Malaysian Cup where the Kalang roar was so loud. So who would like to answer this question from the panel? Anyone? Yes, Abbas, you have to unmute your mic, I think, if you want to say something.
That's right, yeah. The Kalang roar, I remember 1970s, 70s. Even the stadium can carry 55 packs.
55,000, yeah.
Yeah, but then again, almost 55,000. I remember one game, soccer, like with Selangor and Singapore. 65,000. Can you imagine this sitting on that? What's the reason for all that? Because we are together, regardless, these multi-ratios. You can sit with anyone besides you. And suddenly,
yes.
yes.
Start
shouting and so forth. Now, that's the spirit. That's the spirit. Because sports bring us rounded together. Right? So without sports, and we just go into academy alone, then we are, with the internet is going on, look at our children, our grandchildren. They are not in connected with what they call their friends. That is good because they play, definitely play. So what about the teenage, right? So we need to bring back that kind of sport, especially football, soccer.
Yeah, it's a very unifying thing that can bring all Singaporeans of all different races together. Yeah.
And we bring back that relationship with Malaysia.
Yeah,
and
maybe.
ASEAN as a whole. That's my take. Thank you.
Yeah, we had this dream, right, that Singapore was going to go into the World Cup. Was it? Is it supposed to be this year, 2020? I think we are quite far off the target, right, of reaching the World Cup. Okay, doesn't matter. Okay, thank you very much for answering that question. Facebook Live, the next question I have, this one is to the panel. It's quite a long question, but it's a bit related to what Hazel was talking a bit just now. The question from Roland Xiao Hui Chai. Many people are shocked that we have over 300,000 foreign workers in the construction industry. It seems there is no coordination between recruitment and accommodation, and this resulted in poor condition of accommodation. Do you think this is sustainable, or do you think we should review and reduce the numbers? Wow, another hot button question about foreign workers and the way they were living. Is it too easy? So what? Who will attempt or would like to answer this question pertaining to foreign workers? Are there too many foreign workers in Singapore?
Craig, this is Lou here.
Yes, Lou.
I will take a stab at these questions.
Yes.
Just about 2-3 days back, I actually did a webinar on foreign workers dormitories in Singapore. And I think to resolve these particular issues, we need to employ what I call a many faces of a prisons approach. Meaning to say that we need to get all the stakeholders in this particular issue to come in together. For example, right, the government, right? The government, how are you encouraging the industry, the construction industries to upgrade? I believe they have been trying to encourage the deployment of technologies so that the productivities can go up. And with the rise in productivities, there's the possibility to pay our workers a bit better. And with the higher wages, maybe, as we mentioned earlier, right, Singaporean may take up the job because after doing this job, they do have enough wages or pay to feed their family and have a comfortable, a relatively comfortable and decent life. So that's one thing that the government has to think about, right? And obviously, in a capitalist society, right, the employer has to decide, right, what is a reasonable, decent profit? Now, surely when the employer bring all these low-pay wage foreign worker in, they must be making a lot of money. So, but yeah, it's not been spread evenly. So could the employer have paid the worker a bit higher? Now, if they can, so why can't they pay Singaporean workers then? Now, if that's the case, again, Singaporean looking at a decent pay, decent jobs, they may take up these particular jobs. So it really needs someone to take a whole of the nations, involving many of the stakeholders to get involved to resolve this issue. Right? Currently, obviously, we have 340,000, as the gentleman mentioned, and currently they do need that because we have many mega infrastructure, public and private, waiting to be completed. And this COVID-19 has literally put a stop to many of these mega infrastructure projects, and it's going to cost us. In fact, it's going to cost us a lot more had we done the right thing at the beginning. All right. So that's my take. Maybe other panelists may want to pick up from there. Thank you very much, Craig.
Thank you, Lou. There's Lou Ki Hong there. And the next question actually is directed at our party Secretary General, Dr. Tan Cheng Bock. Doc, the question is, when will PSP be announcing the constituencies it will contest in? Are you able to reveal anything at all, Doc, to our viewers who may be wondering? Are you going to give any hints?
I think that is a question many will keep on asking me. But as somebody who have gone through 6 general elections and also involved in elections, one presidential election and so on, I will keep this very close to my chest. I don't think any politician at this point of time will want to reveal where they are going. But let me tell you that we will try to put as many people as we can in this coming election, if they qualify. And the main thing is that we will get these people to serve Singaporeans best in the areas we will tell you soon, but not now.
Oh, so okay, I can understand. And for those who are watching us, of course, you cannot reveal too much because you must keep things close to your chest there. And that was the answer given by Dr. Tan for very obvious reasons. Because if you reveal your cards, it's like a game of poker. You reveal your cards or what you're holding in your hands, then your opponent or the people you're playing against will know your strategy and they can move themselves to counter whatever plans you may have made. So it's a game of strategy and you execute and reveal in due course, right? That was Dr. Dr. Tan Cheng Bok there. So it's not that he don't want to answer, he cannot answer you yet at the moment. So this is a strategic. So we have to.
Greg answered better than me.
Oh, really? I'm not one of the panel. I'm just the moderator, Doc. Okay. Look, we have another few more questions coming up here. The question I have in my hand right now is from Facebook Live. How are you going to convince Singaporeans to vote for your party? Given Dr. Tan's age, if he is not elected in this election, it is quite difficult to wait for the next. So, Doc, I think you may have to answer this question.
You see, when I set up this, when I entered politics again, after a lapse of about maybe my last election was 2006. I honestly wanted not to go into the political arena again. But then after a while, when I look around and I saw changes happening, which was not good for the country, I feel, for the future of my children and my grandchildren, I decided to come back again to see whether I can make some changes. So when I start this process of forming this political party, I'm only setting the stage. I'm preparing the stage for good people to come forward and do a good job for Singapore, for the future of Singapore. So I am only preparing the groundwork for Singaporeans who feel that the country must come first, the people must come first also. So that's why I gather many young people now, because I will prepare the stage. The 12 of us who started this political party will guide them, will play a role in mentoring as many as we can. And we hope that our values will be passed on to them on what we think should be a good Singapore. You see, I belong to the generation where I worked with Lee Kuan Yew. And I remember very clearly we have very, very good principles to go by. Because at the end of the day, we must create a good political system based on trust. And this will be very, very important for any government to perform well. You look at now, people questioned the awarding of dormitories to friends or to relatives of political parties. I don't think it is, that's a question of trust. I want to believe that things are done properly. But because the trust is lost, people start to question very minute things also. So we must gain back the people's trust. And this is where PSP must go in that direction. And when we talk about trust, we have to talk about you must be accountable for what you are doing, right? You must be independent in your choice of people to run your organizations. Now, these things has got to be built. And this is where I come in. I want to make sure that the people who join PSP must have those value systems, or else we are no better. So you got to, those who really are caring for this country, I just ask them, come forward, help me build this country based on our good principles, good political principles, to make sure that your children, my grandchildren, all have a better future. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much, Doc.
I'm only preparing the stage for
right.
all of you to come forward and serve this country.
Well, anyway, I'd just like to add on to what you have just said. And for the person who posted that question to say that, given Dr. Tan's age, just like to let you all know, the benchmark for the new age is set by Dr. Mahathir in Malaysia. He's already 94 years old. So by that standard, Doc, you're still very young. You're only 80 years old only.
Thank you.
So yeah, precisely. So the benchmark is 94 years old, 93, 94 years old. So they're hoping that maybe in Singapore, that the PSP and with you leading the charge, that you can do something that Mahathir did to rally the people of Singapore together, and we can really see some good changes. And for yourself, as you mentioned, you worked with Lee Kuan Yew before, and you have seen the transition of the incumbent from the past, where men who really stepped forward to serve, till today, where things are slightly different. All right. And to borrow a phrase, have they lost their way, or have you lost your way, as you were accused of? And you also tried to do it by going through the elected president, which has some naughty people say it has become the selected president instead of the elected president, because there was no election done. And whoever was challenging it was not found to be qualified. And the president was selected that way. So rather than an elected president. So there are many changes.
I think we won't talk about this.
True.
Yeah,
anyway, so as I said, the important thing is you are still considered very young by today's benchmark. So
but I must be honest with you, before I took on this particular task, I went for a medical checkup. Because we must be honest with ourselves. If your mind is not working well, you cannot run this place. I cannot imagine if I suffer from dementia. I cannot. I should bow out and leave it to somebody else to do it. So we are all humans. We have certain lifespan, and we will be honest. If the day I find that my thinking capacity is not as sharp as before, I must make sure, and I pray by then, that many of you young people out here will come forward and make this country, this Singapore, proud again, as somebody just earlier on mentioned.
Yes.
Like Kallang Raw and all this, the pride of being a Singaporean. We must gain back that pride of being a Singaporean. We were really proud during my time. Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much. One of the unique things about Singapore is I think many countries envy us, besides our economic growth, is that our social fabric is very strong. You have all the different races living together in relative harmony, and you can have a church next to a temple, to a mosque, and all these things, which doesn't happen very readily in other parts of the world. So that's something that we should really treasure about our unique multicultural, multi-ethnic society that we live in. Okay, I'm going to ask the last question for those people who want to win this Otika otter. If you can see, I'm holding this otter. We are giving away 2. So once again, the last question, can we please bring up the last question onto the trivia time? And the last question is, Otika is an acronym. what does it mean or what does it stand for? Again, go to our PSP Facebook page or website and you will find out what is the meaning of Autica. And for those of you who know the answer, please email your answers to westcoast@psp.org.sg. And the first 2 correct answers will then win the Autica Otter. Okay, once again, the question was, what does the acronym Autica stand for and what does it mean? Okay, if you know the answer, please send your answer by email to the address that is given on the screen right now, which is westcoast@psp.org.sg. We are only giving away 2, so they are very precious. And besides showing you that the prizes that you're going to be winning, for those that have won, we will inform you also by email, and you'll probably come to our PSP head office, which is located on the 14th floor of Bukit Timah Shopping Center, to collect your prizes when the circuit breaker is lifted. So good luck to all of you who have sent in your answers by email to westcoast@psp.org.sg. And if we can show the prizes again so that we jog everyone's memory, we have 5 t-shirts, we have 5 caps, and 2 of this Autica to be given away, a total of 12 prizes. So good luck to all of you who have taken part, and I hope whoever it is that was quick, you will win the prizes. Okay, we are almost reaching the end of tonight's session, and now we'll move on to a couple more questions. Let's see what is the next question I have on my screen here. Okay, the question is that I have here is, let me see, from Mr. John Teo. Jeffrey mentioned he hopes more Singaporeans working as PMETs. How does he intend for more Singaporeans to do so? So Jeffrey, that question is intended for you. You mentioned about more Singaporeans working in PMETs, okay, as PMETs. How does he intend for Singaporeans to be able to do so? Because I believe today in Singapore, many of our PMETs have actually either lost their job, been retrenched. So because of maybe the influx of too many foreign talents into Singapore. The floor is yours, Jeffrey.
Hey, thank you for the question, John. Now, you're coming to the end of the session, so I will try to be quick as this, right? Now, the median income for Singaporeans and residents have, of course, increased over the years, right? But as you know, it's still not enough because cost of living has also concurrently gone up, right? So there are some things that we can look at, right? We can look at sensitive positions such as the HR, the hiring managers in large corporates being Singaporeans, right? Or to some way make sure that they are Singaporeans, right? So this could give locals a better chance, you know, because we would like to favor our own and we try to pick our own, right? So this could help a little bit, right? The second point is that, you know, companies can, or should I say that the government can put in certain laws where, let's say, a stipulated timeline to ensure that specialists that work in Singapore, foreign specialists, are limited to a certain period of time, maybe 12 months, maybe 24 months or 2 years, right? They cannot be here forever. And to make sure there's proper knowledge transfer to Singaporeans, right? Because over the years, I get very, very tired listening, say, hey, look, you know, you don't have the people here, so we have to bring them in. But I believe Singaporeans can learn. Singaporeans have good minds, they're smart people, you teach them, they'll learn it, and given a little bit of practice, they can take on those jobs also, right? And that gives them stability, right? So focus of hiring has to be very Singaporean centric, right? This is specifically for white collar jobs, PMET jobs. These pay better, right? And you have these guys that are paid better, their families live better, and overall Singapore moves forward better, right? So you're talking about other roles like blue collar workers and all that. Maybe, you know, in that area can be slightly a bit more relaxed, you know, but even then, also only for jobs that Singaporeans don't want to do or cannot do, right? So with all this, potentially the salaries of Singaporeans, I will not mix it up with PR, just Singaporeans will have a better chance of increasing, right? So I hope that answers your question.
Right, thank you very much. Yeah, that's true because I remember when Doc mentioned that, you know, Singaporeans must come first. While he was still an MP with the incumbent party, he was crucified, you know, for taking that stance where he asked them to put Singaporeans first. And I think now in this COVID situation, it has exacerbated the problem whereby Singaporeans have lost their jobs and because of the damage to the economy from the COVID-19 pandemic. So how then do we, you know, put Singaporeans first? And this has partly, I guess, to do with HR hiring practices in Singapore, because the people who are in HR, I think maybe a little bit more has to be monitored, so that if let's say I'm from a particular country, I have a tendency to employ people who are from my own country of origin. So these are the kind of things that could be happening. So maybe from the PR perspective, you know, and the way they give out the employment pass or even S pass and things like this, I think maybe a better form of control rather than just becomes like a buffet, a free for all. And when you allow too many to come in, you know, to close the door, or the dam has burst, it's quite difficult to control it back. Okay, let me see what is the next question that I have. The next question that I have is, let me see, what would be, okay, any more question? Okay, I think we are almost reaching the end. I think this is the last question that I have, because we have 10 minutes to go, and this is the last question that I think have to give to Doc to answer. The question is from Mr. Yap Ka Wei Ken. The question to Dr. Tan Cheng Bok: how will PSP make a different impact and help our country, Singapore? Doc, I'll let you wrap this up.
I think that's a good question, and that would also tie up with the question that was posed earlier on in the session. And I said that I'll take that question last. So maybe I shall use this question to sum up what has been discussed today and this evening. Greg, what do you think? I can end with.
No problem. You have the floor. Yeah, and then we'll wrap it up this evening. Yeah.
I first let me thank all of you for attending this session. To me, as I said, it's a new experience, but a very enriching one. I'm quite glad that technology didn't stop me from pursuing what I fear, because my generation, we are so worried about all this Facebook and all this webinar and so on. But I'm so happy and so proud that our young party has embarked on this kind of reach to our Singaporeans. So now I'm sure you have heard from members of PSP on the party, their reasons for joining us, and their hopes and aspirations for Singapore. We have shared about the developments within the party. A lot of things have happened. We have suffered a lot of pain. We have enriched ourselves from learning from some of the things that happened, and that is good for the party. Any young political party has to go through this. Even the PAP, when they started, there was a lot of infighting, there were a lot of problems, but they overcome it and they became a very strong party. We will not be afraid to face all the challenges that's before us. And I said we have learned a lot and have grown a lot during this process. I once again want to thank everyone who has worked and sacrificed so much to bring the party forward in this very short time. So now I want to answer that last question. What does PSP actually want for the future of Singapore? Now, at the end of the day, PSP wants to build a strong Singapore with a strong and trusted political system. And in order to build trust in our political system, we have said many times that we believe we need to have clear processes of accountability, transparency, and independence. Let's ask ourselves if there is room for improvement in these areas. We have to look into whether good processes are in place in the government for us to feel comfortable, to trust the things that are going on. I believe this call has resonated with many people. Now, how can this be achieved? Now, not with politics of anger and envy. We should move away from politics of anger and envy. We should move away from politics of fear and reward. That's what the current government does. They reward you and they instill fear. Instead, let's ask the right questions, push for answers, and speak up for one another. Perhaps for some of you, you feel a stirring to be part of the process for change. I would therefore like to invite you to join us and be part of the team at PSP. Now, the road ahead is tough, and there is so much work and so much sacrifice. Our team cannot do it alone. We need help to make a difference. We need good people. The government needs good. Any political system, you really need good system to see it through. So I ask you, if you feel that PSP is a party that you hope to make a difference for this country, please come and join us. So thank you very much again for attending this session. I hope you learned something, and I hope you also forgive some of the shortcomings that took place. Anything that is new, there will be some shortcomings. Bear up with it, and we'll see you again at another occasion. I'm sure we'll be much better than what we have presented this evening. So I wish you all good night, and thank you for coming.
Thank you very much there, Dr. Tan Cheng Bok, and he's the Secretary General of the Progress Singapore Party. In short, it's called PSP. And yes, once again, we'd like to say a big thank you to all the viewers who have joined us here in the Zoom platform or watching us on Facebook Live. And congratulations to those of you that have won some nice PSP Party tea, including the cap and the beloved Otika Otter. Okay, so I will give a chance now to everyone to just say a quick goodbye to all the people, starting maybe with Abbas. Would you just
we'd like to say a big thank you to all the viewers. Right. So thank you very much, residents, for being with us. We'll see you again next time. In the meantime, stay home, stay safe. Thank you.
quick goodbye to everyone who's coming in, who has joined us this evening.
Thank you.
Lou?
Hello, hi. Thanks once again. Thanks very much for joining us. I hope you have learned a bit more about PSP and also about us. All right. See you very soon. Thank you.
Okay, and let's have Wendy. Wendy, what's your turn? Wendy, would you like to just say a quick goodbye?
So good night to the West Coast residents. Look forward to more opportunities to engaging yourselves and other Singaporeans across the island. I also like to emphasize that PSP celebrates diversity. So in the course of my engagement here, we've met interesting people from environmentalists to even funeral parlor bosses to lawyers, professionals, teachers. So it's really a party for Singaporeans from all walks, and we hope we'll meet you as one of our members or volunteers as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much there, Wendy. And how about Logan? I hope your mic is working properly. Yes, Logan, it's your turn.
Great. Thank you to all the West Coast residents for taking your time to come and listen to us or hear our views. And I hope that you can join us more for such sessions. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you very much. And how about Jeffrey? It's your turn, Jeffrey.
Hi, thank you very much for spending our time here. You know, I stay in the West. Hopefully when all this lockdown is over, I'll see you at the hawker center or the markets, right? Have a great evening. Stay home.
Thank you very much. Okay, and how about the lawyer in training? Sean, your turn now.
Yes, a big good night to everybody who has joined us. Also a big thank you for everyone who has tuned in on Facebook and Zoom, and really appreciate everyone who has come here to watch, to find out more about what PSP has been doing. And we really hope that we will see more of you in the future, in our future Zoom sessions, or maybe when we get to meet after the circuit breaker. So I think for now, we hope that everyone will stay home and stay safe. Thank you. Back to you,
Thank
Craig.
you. Okay, and about Hazel. Hazel, it's your turn to have the floor to say your goodbyes.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. I hope that we'll have the opportunity to meet some of you in person one day. Good night.
Thank you. And how about Manwai, ASG Manwai? You have to unmute your mic, yeah? Okay.
Okay, dear West Coast residents and all the other Singaporeans who have joined us today, I hope you gained something out of it, understand what we PSP stands for. Okay, as Dr. Tan Cheng Bok has emphasized, the road ahead for PSP is very long, okay, and we are in for the long haul. So all your support is required, and we look forward to seeing you in person or any form of support that you can give to us. Thank you very much and good night. Back to you, Craig.
Okay, thank you. I'll just wrap it up now for the evening. So once again, I'd like to thank all the viewers who have joined us here live for our very first MeetPSP, which is MeetPSP, and we'll be doing more of such sessions that will be going on in the future for the different zones throughout Singapore. And of course, I'd like to thank the panel as well for taking time off from their busy schedules despite the COVID-19. So we are tapping into technology to send our message across to all Singaporeans who are here and even those who are overseas. And thank you very much once again, and congratulations to those that have won the prizes that we have put up for you. Is more of a sentimental value, not of anything that costs a lot, but it's quite cool, right? I love the otter. Okay, it's so cute. So thank you again and for joining us, and good night. Stay safe until the circuit breaker is lifted, and we hope to see you face to face in the not too distant future. God bless everyone. Good night and bye-bye. Thank you.